Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are going to unpack a really fascinating piece of ancient legal reasoning from the Talmud. Seriously, it plays out just like a modern courtroom drama. You've got this brilliant logical puzzle and even a gotcha moment between some legal masters. So, it all kicks off with this question. Imagine someone does one continuous thing, right? Like they slaughter an animal, and then, in the very next moment, they offer it on an altar. Could that single, smooth action actually land them with two different criminal charges? Well, that's the core of a surprisingly intense debate. All right, so our main case comes straight from the Mishnah, which is a foundational text of Jewish law from way back around 200 CE. And it's all about something that was strictly forbidden: performing a sacrifice outside the designated courtyard of the Holy Temple in Jerusalem. Now, the basic rule seems pretty cut and dry. The law looks at this one action and sees two separate moments, the moment of slaughter and the moment of offering it up. Each one is its own violation. That means the person is on the hook for two different offenses. And believe me, the consequences are serious. The stakes here are just incredibly high. The punishment for intentionally doing these things is called karet, or excision. And look, this isn't a fine or some jail time. We're talking about a profound spiritual punishment, basically being cut off from your community and your entire future. So being liable for this twice is an unbelievably serious deal. But just when you think, okay, case closed, right? A scholar named Rabbi Yosei HaGelili steps in. He takes a look at this rule and comes up with this brilliant logical challenge. It's basically a kind of ancient legal technicality. So here's the core of his argument. He says that the very first illegal act, slaughtering the animal outside, completely changes the nature of the animal itself. It invalidates it, makes it spiritually unfit to be a sacrifice. And if it's already unfit, how can you possibly be guilty of illegally offering it? Let's break down his logic step by step. First, slaughtering the animal outside makes it pasul, unfit. Then he says the rule is specifically about offering a valid sacrifice in the wrong place. So since he offered up an item that was already unfit, he technically didn't break that second rule. The conclusion? He should only be liable for one crime. It really feels like this perfect airtight loophole, doesn't it? But the other sages, who are just called the Rabbis here, they are ready with the counterargument, and it is just as clever. They basically take Rabbi Yose's own logic and turn it right back around on him to show why it doesn't work. So what they do is they present this hypothetical case. They say, okay, Rabbi Yose, let's test your principle. What if someone slaughters the animal correctly inside the temple, but then carries it outside to offer it up? The very moment he crosses that boundary, the animal becomes unfit. So by your logic, he should be exempt for offering it because he's just offering an unfit item. But of course, everyone knows that's a major violation. By showing his logic leads to this absurd result, they completely dismantle his argument. And this really gets to the heart of the whole thing. For Rabbi Yose, it's all about the status of the object. The first crime invalidates it, which makes the second crime impossible. But for the rabbis, the object's status doesn't matter at all. What matters are the actions. The person did two forbidden things, plain and simple, and because of that, he's liable for both. And to show that this isn't just some one-off ruling, the text brings in a whole other parallel case. This one has to do with the laws of ritual purity. This is how they build a really solid, consistent argument. Okay, so the new scenario is this. A person who is ritually impure is not allowed to eat holy, sacrificial food. But what if the food itself was already impure before he even laid a finger on it? Does the fact that the food was already bad get him off the hook? And what do you know? We see the exact same logic play out. Rabbi Yosei argues that since the food was already impure, the man isn't liable. But the rabbis come back with that same knockout blow. They say, by your logic, even if he touched pure food, his own impurity would make the food impure instantly. So he'd always be eating an impure item and would never be liable, which, again, is an impossible conclusion. This just reinforces the rabbi's position as a consistent legal principle that applies across different areas of the law. Okay, so the what of the law is settled. Two actions means two liabilities. But ancient legal analysis doesn't just stop there. The Gemara, which is this huge commentary on the Mishnah, now shifts to a much deeper question. Why? It's not enough to just know the rule. They have to find its source in the Bible itself. So now the Gemara basically turns into a detective, combing through the biblical text to find the exact verses that are the ultimate source for all this. A traditional rule is great, but it has to be anchored in scripture. And listen, there's a really key rule for this whole investigation. For any law to be totally binding, the Torah has to give you two things: an azhara, which is the warning or the prohibition, the don't do this part, and an onish, which is the consequence or punishment, the if you do this, here's what happens part. You can't just have one, you need both. So after finding the verses for the punishment, the Gemara finally lands on this verse from Leviticus as the source for the prohibition, the azhara, against slaughtering outside the temple. It seems like a perfect match. Case closed, right? Well, not so fast. A new problem pops up almost immediately. Someone points out a huge problem. Hey, isn't this verse already, taken? It's already been used in another legal argument as the source for a completely different law, the one against sacrificing to pagan deities, specifically these seirim, or goat demons. You can't just use one verse for two totally different laws. Or maybe you can. So just when it looks like they've hit a legal dead end, another scholar, Rabba, steps in to fix the whole thing. And his solution is just this stunningly elegant piece of interpretation. And Rabba's insight is just brilliant. He says the verse isn't just one flat statement. It actually has multiple layers of meaning. And he shows how you can get two completely separate laws from this one little phrase, which totally resolves the contradiction. So check this out. First, he says you read just the opening words, and they shall not slaughter any more, as its own standalone rule. This connects back to the main topic of the chapter, which is sacrifices outside the right place. And that is law number 1. Then, you read the verse as a whole, any more their offerings to the seirim, which gives you the specific rule against this kind of idolatry. And that's law number 2. One verse, 2 readings, 2 laws. Problem solved. And this is the real takeaway, right? This method shows you the mindset of these ancient thinkers. They believed that every single word in the biblical text was precise and absolutely packed with meaning. Rabba's solution isn't just some clever party trick. It's a demonstration of a core principle of Talmudic study, that there's this immense legal and philosophical density just waiting to be unlocked in the text. We started with what seemed like a simple question about one action and 2 crimes. But it took us down this rabbit hole of razor-sharp logic, parallel cases, and some deep, deep textual investigation. It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? What other hidden complexities and brilliant arguments are just lying there, right beneath the surface of these ancient texts, waiting for us to dive in and unpack them?